Hey, and good evening, everybody. And thank you for taking time this holiday season away from your family to welcome to the inaugural edition of the Roanoke Division Town Hall. I'm your host this evening. My name is Bill Maureen, call sign N2COP. What you see here in the background is my hometown of Wilmington, North Carolina. And tonight, we are going to give you an hour of opportunity to meet with your ARL elected officials and to find out what is going on in the Roanoke Division. Now, why the Roanoke Division? We'll get into that a little later as to all the components of it. But first, I want to introduce you to some people that you'll be meeting tonight, along with a special opportunity for some door prizes. But this kickoff meeting tonight is on a very auspicious day because it was 121 years ago today that Giglio Marconi made the first transmission successfully transatlantically between England and Newfoundland. And so what more fitting occasion to have as a chance for everybody in the Roanoke Division to get to know one another. So let's go around and meet who you're going to be talking with tonight. So we have with us this evening our director of the Roanoke Division, Dr. Jim Boner, N2ZZ. Jim, greetings to you this evening.
Thank you very much, Bill. And what you see behind me is the back of my shack from Studio A. So I don't have the same type of background you do. And wanted to say a few things about myself, if that would be okay.
Hold on, Jim. We're going to have a little round robin with you later on that.
Okay.
But let's meet our section managers joining us tonight, too. We have with us Jack Smith, KE4LWT, the Virginia section manager. Good evening, Jack.
Good evening, everyone.
Good to have you on board, Jack. We have from West Virginia, Dan Ringer, K8WV.
Good evening, and I'm surprised to find that we're celebrating Marconi Day by using a method that has nothing to do with radios, except the subject matter.
This is very true. We thought that this format would be better than trying to do a CW version to speak with our members.
Good call.
And tonight joining us also is South Carolina Section Manager Mark Tarpley, N4UFP. Good evening, Mark. Oh, you're on mute, Mark.
Good evening, everyone, and I suspect that were Marconi around today, he would fully embrace this technology. Of that, I have no doubt.
I have no doubt either. And unfortunately, I have to send regrets that North Carolina Section Manager Marv Hoffman, WA4NC, is feeling a little under the weather tonight. So when it comes time to discuss the North Carolina section, as a North Carolinian myself, I'll be filling on in. But before we kick off things, I'm going to ask that the producer of tonight's broadcast join us, Brad Humphreys, AE4VJ, who's also the South Carolina section technical coordinator. Brad, I think we have some prizes possibly to give away tonight to our viewers, and you can give us a little overview of how they can enter a contest to win those prizes.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. Glad to be here. Thanks for everybody showing up. We had a whole bunch of comments coming in. But yes, so we do have some giveaways. We came up with an idea. It's like, hey, what can we give people for sticking around for an hour and hanging out, as you said, giving up some of their holiday weekend time, family time to hang out with us. So if you want free stuff, here's what we got to do. In the comments of whatever platform you are viewing on, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, what we need you to do is comment with the hashtag ARRL, include your name and call sign, and just hit the submit button there. And let me go ahead and initiate that. And we'll have some drawings. I think we have a handful of things to give away. Is that correct?
Jim, I think you're the prize master tonight. What do we have for our viewers?
We will be having oh, there I am. We have 5 handbooks to hand out, the soft cover handbooks, the 6-volume editions. So please enter, and Brad will be working on getting the prizes out.
And Jim, these aren't just ordinary handbooks. These are
These are the 100-year handbooks.
the special 100th anniversary centennial edition of the handbooks. And the way that it's going to be decided who gets them, first of all, you have to very carefully enter in the comment areas that Brad pointed out, the hashtag or pound sign, lowercase ARRL, and then your name and your call sign. Now, one of the things is you do need to be a current and active ARRL member to be a winner. But the platform that we're using called StreamYard has an automatic giveaway random entry generator. So we will have no say as to what it is. Our section manager for South Carolina, Mark Tarpley, is very adeptly holding up what the 100th anniversary handbook looks like. How about a side view, Mark, just so everyone can see? Ooh, that's thick. Wow. Now, just to let everybody know, that is the hardcover version that Mark has. It will be the soft cover version that will be awarded tonight to the 5 winning recipients. So let's kick off for a second. Why are we meeting at the division level, and who is the Roanoke division? Well, let's give a quick overview before we go over and everybody meets their respective section managers. The Roanoke division is one of 15 divisions. ARL is set up on its board basis on 15 geographical regions. They're called divisions. Our division consists of 4 states or 4 sections: North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia. And in those 4 states, we have almost 13,000 ARL members. We are a big section. We have the second largest population of members. Did I get that right, Jim? I think that's correct.
Yes, second largest.
Second largest across the 4 states. And by the way, those 4 states, if you think we're small, the northernmost territory of the Roanoke division is north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and stretches south to Savannah, Georgia, and goes east from Norfolk, Virginia, west to Huntington, West Virginia on the Kentucky border. It is a large area. And in that area, we have 238 ARRL affiliate clubs. The 4 sections combined have 433 volunteers that hold field positions. And in those 4 states, we have about 40 handfests per year. And on field day, we have anywhere between 100 and 160 field day sites. It is a big division. So let's take just a moment to explain the difference between division and section responsibilities. This may explain a little better who we are and how we work with one another. And one of the reasons tonight that we're all getting together across 4 states is that as amateur radio operators, we share a lot in common. So whether you live in West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, or Virginia, our hobby is one that we share. So you have so much in common with your brethren across the 3 other sections. But let's look at this and go down the left-hand side. Jim and I are your elected representatives to the ARL board. Here are the 15 regions. Our division is called the Roanoke Division. The purpose of the board is to set policy on behalf of amateur radio. Each division has 1 director, that's Tim, and 1 vice director, me. Directors vote and make motions. Vice directors do not, but they fill in the absence of the director if needed. We both serve 3-year terms, and we can be appointed by the president of ARL to serve on committees. Jim is currently serving on the Emergency Communications and Field Services Committee, and I am serving on through Administration and Finance on ARL's Investment Management Committee. On the right-hand side of this slide, you see section managers. And a lot of you are probably more familiar with section managers because both Jim and I were section managers prior to being directors and vice directors. And the section managers are the workhorses of ARL. There are 71 sections across the United States. Some states have multiple sections. Our states and sections do not. The difference between a section manager and the board is that section managers execute policy set by ARL in the field. There's one manager per section. All field appointments are made through the section manager or section manager's direct emissaries. They serve 2-year terms, and the expertise of section managers is such that often they're called upon to help out the board with ad hoc committees. Now, down at the bottom is something very key, and that is directors, vice directors, and section managers are each independently elected. We don't report to one another. Once in a while at a ham fest, I may have a disgruntled ham come up to me and say something is bad with their, or don't like what's going on with their section manager. What am I going to do about it? And my answer is absolutely nothing, because that section manager is running independently and there's no reporting structure. Now, that said, I'm very pleased to report that the 6 of us, Jim as director, myself as vice director, and the 4 section managers have a very collegial relationship in making sure that the 4 sections in the Roanoke division run smoothly. As a matter of fact, the 6 of us meet monthly in a Zoom call to ensure that we're up to speed in everything that is going on. So enough about that. Let's turn over and meet the personalities tonight so you get to know your elected officials better. So first up is, let's bring in our division director, Dr. Jim Boner. Jim, good evening.
Good evening, Bill, and good evening to the Roanoke Division. I want to thank you for agreeing to host this, as this is one of your fortes, and I know everyone is going to enjoy that. And I also want to say Brad Humphreys, he's not only the technical coordinator of South Carolina, he's also assistant director of the Roanoke Division. And I've already said probably the best graphics guy I've ever seen. So as you see all of these special effects and everything, thank Brad. He's got in his wheelhouse to do this. I want to take this time just to talk about myself. I try not to be too in talking about myself, but just some personal stuff, at least as far as the ARRL is concerned. In 2001, I had ran for section manager South Carolina. Unfortunately, I failed to make it, but in 2003, I did prevail and spent 7 years as section manager of South Carolina. In 2010, I was elected to the board as vice director and served there until 2015, at which time my director, Dennis Bodson of Virginia, had decided to retire, and I was moved into the director position and actually served as a director there for 4 years. Had a great experience. There are things that happen at the board level that many of the members never see. There are many committees out there. We have 4 standing committees now, and I was chair of the Programs and Services Committee, the one that basically does all the fun stuff, DXCC, contesting, NTS, things like that. And after that, I was on the executive committee for a few years. And then in 2019, I did not prevail in the election, but I'm very happy to say that I am back. I'm very happy that the Roanoke Division wanted me back, and I appreciate you electing me. Originally from Syracuse, New York, but moved down to Augusta, Georgia, and then over to Aiken, South Carolina. I've been here since 1986. If you really have some thoughts or just would like to see a little bit more about me, my QRZ.com page has a lot of information. But it has been a pleasure for me serving the Roanoke Division. And as Bill said, currently I'm now chairing the subcommittee on ARES, the Amateur Radio Emergency Services, for the ECFSC, which emergency, the ECFC, we use acronyms too much, Emergency Communications Field Service Committee, which deals with a lot that deals with the section managers as well. So it has been a pleasure, and I'm going to turn it back to you, Bill. If there are anything that I've missed, please go ahead and let me know.
Okay, Jim, thanks for that overview. And I'll just take a minute as vice director, go a little bit over myself. And again, if you're joining us late, the background is my hometown where I live at Wilmington, North Carolina. I was also the past North Carolina section manager for ARRL from 2010 to 2014. And 2015, I was appointed as vice director to fill the slot vacated by Jim when he moved up. And I've been elected continuously since then. I want to thank everybody for that opportunity. Brad, before I go on about myself, I think for those latecomers who are coming in, we need to remind them they have an opportunity to win a door prize tonight. And here's the crawl telling you how to do it. Go to the comments section or whatever platform you're on, type in hashtag or pound sign, lowercase ARL, put in your name and put in your call sign. We will have a random drawing at the end of tonight's presentation, and there'll be 5 winners for 5 soft edition copies of the Arrl 100th Anniversary Centennial Handbook. And that would be great to do that. So I like being vice director and getting around and seeing everybody in the division. This is a fabulous division to represent, and Jim and I often make between the two of us somewhere around 20 ham fests throughout the 4 states of the division each year. But enough about me. I'm the number 2 guy. I'm the Kamala Harris, Prince Harry of the operation. So we'll move on, and you're going to meet some heavy hitters now. And we're going to start. Oh, before we do, I know what I want to do. Where is, I'm looking for that one slide, and let's put this in. It's important. People often ask, well, if you're in the Roanoke division, how many folks are in your division? And you can see here, this is a pie chart. I realize that some of that lettering may be tough to read, but in terms of numbers, the largest one with ARL members is the Virginia section. And right behind it, they have 39%, 36% of our membership comes from North Carolina. Then we've got South Carolina coming in at, I'm looking at the chart here, 17%, and West Virginia, the Mountaineer state, cementing it all together with their membership. So let's go through and meet our section managers tonight. And the first one that we'll bring up is our South Carolina section manager, Mark Tarpley, because Mark and Brad have been the inventor of the very format that we are using tonight to come to you. So Mark, take it away.
Well, thanks. I think all the credit should go to Brad. He really has been the driving force behind this. I've just been the talking head. So I just want to make sure that he gets the credit he richly deserves for all the work he's put in behind the scenes. I've had the pleasure of serving the league since 2001. I was technical coordinator for about 9 years. And when Jim got promoted, I was given an opportunity to serve as section manager, won re-election the following year, and I've been doing it ever since. Been licensed since 1988 and have done pretty much everything in amateur radio, from running CW with vintage vacuum tube gear to running moon bounce at the other end of the spectrum and everything in between. At the end of the day, what Bill said about the section manager is right. We're the folks who we don't do the big picture. We implement policy, and I view my job as making sure that I support the 2,000 league members and the other 8,000 amateurs in my section that are not league members, make sure I support them and provide leadership for the section and solutions for the amateurs in South Carolina.
And we put up on your screen there for you, Mark, there are the amateurs by license class in the Palmetto State. And you have a very healthy representation of technicians, generals, and extras.
Thanks, Bill.
All right. Anything more?
No, I figure use as few words as possible.
All right. Let's take a leap over the bottom of the Appalachian Mountains and head over to the Mountaineer State and meet Dan Ringer, KAWV, the West Virginia section manager. Dan, what's going on tonight in your hometown of Morgantown, West Virginia, home of West Virginia University?
We're breathlessly awaiting tomorrow's basketball, well, not tomorrow, Saturday's basketball game with Hall of Fame coach Bob Huggins leading the charge there. But that's West Virginia University. Frequently in things like this, I'm asked where I'm from, and everybody expects me to name a town, and I don't do that. I say I'm from West Virginia because that's who I represent. I represent the hams in West Virginia. I myself have been a ham for 59 years. Marconi and I used to have breakfast together, talking about the new modes of transmission. In every time a new mode came out, there was a loud squawking by people that we don't want this thing. Everything is just fine. What's this Donald Duck sound? What are these computers talking to computers? It's all ham radio, folks, and it's all fun, and get involved in all of it. Another thing that I'm always or frequently asked is, how do I get involved in, quote, running the section? Well, you simply ask. And each month I send out a report and I ask people to volunteer. And that's a sincere request. We need people. West Virginia has the smallest amateur population of any of the other sections in the Roanoke division. We have just slightly fewer than 1,000 ARRL members. One of the things I'm impressed by, though, is you will see charts like the one on your screen right now talking about the relative proportion, relative numbers of extras, generals,
and a few novices.
And you will notice that every time you see one of those charts, you're going to think, I saw that chart before. It doesn't mean that we have the same number of extras in West Virginia as we do in the other division states or sections, but it does mean we have the same relative proportions. So we're all hams in it together. And speaking of being in it together, the one thing I am most impressed about in the Roanoke division is how well we all communicate. The leaders of the Roanoke division communicate with each other. We do it frequently. I believe we're all friends. We all have common opinions about things. We don't always agree about everything, but we reason well together. You're well represented. I have never had a call from Jim or from Bill saying, cut it out, Dan, you shouldn't do it that way. But at the same time, I'm quite willing to call them and ask them, what do you think about this, that, or the other thing? And occasionally I'll get calls from them saying, what do you think about this, that, or the other thing? It is a really, to use an old term, copacetic relationship that we have here. Nobody bosses anybody around. Everybody works cooperatively. It's a really, real delight. And folks, it's not like that in every section. I travel around to ham fests. I travel around the country. I talk to people and I hear things like our section manager's an idiot. Our division director never talks to anybody. Our vice director is invisible. That is not the way it is here. I invite you to read the minutes of the board of directors meetings that are published in QST and that you can subscribe to online to see how well everybody works together. And by the way, if you haven't done it, spend a couple of hours going through the actually new arrl.org website. There are resources there that will cause your eyes to bug out and your smile to go from ear to ear. It's a really exciting place to be, and it's worth some time. Thank you, Bill. Take it away.
Yeah, Dan, thank you so much. I appreciate that overview, and you raised some excellent points. And by the way, this first town hall, the inaugural town hall that we're experiencing tonight, if you like this format, then we want to continue this on your behalf and reach out to all members. Among the six of us, meaning the four section managers, Jim and I, we are anticipating that this format is something we might be able to offer to everybody in the division on a quarterly basis. If you agree, at the very end of this presentation, we will put up our email addresses. Send us comments and suggestions. Let us know if you'd like to see this continue. And we have a lot more information yet to go. Before I turn it over to our newest section manager in the division, Jack Smith, I want to remind those who are viewing, if you haven't yet done, look at the crawl at the bottom. We are giving away tonight 5 soft copies of the 100th anniversary centennial edition of the ARRL Handbook. And to do it, just go to the comments section of whatever platform you're on, put in hashtag or # lower ARRL. That's about to come up on the crawl with the instructions. There it is. And then put your name and your call sign. A random generator embedded in this platform or StreamYard will select 5 names at the end of tonight's broadcast. And as long as you're an ARRL member, we will look at that. You could be a winner of that handbook. South Carolina section manager Mark Tarpley, you still have your copy handy to woo the crowd with? Look at that. What ham would not want to have one of those in his or her shack? Oh, it feels good too, doesn't it, Mark? All right.
It does indeed. Next to being shot at and missed, there's nothing quite as satisfying as a brand new copy of the ARRL handbook. And here it is.
All right. I would hate to end tonight and have somebody then email me saying, I would have entered the contest had I known. So that's why we're reminding folks, follow the crawl sign at the bottom of your screen and be sure to enter. All right, enough of the shilling for product. Let's move over and meet the section manager of our largest section with the most members, Jack Smith, KE4LWT. Jack, how are things tonight in your home area of Greene County, Virginia?
It's beautiful downtown Ruckersville, and smile when you say that. So this is, as Bill mentioned, I'm the newest of the section managers and elected officials here. I was elected earlier this year and took office somewhat appropriately on April 1st. So you'll take that however you want to, but it's been interesting. And one thing is that I've served with the ARRL as an appointee pretty much everywhere I've been since I was licensed back in 1994. So I've moved all over the place in the Army and wound up here in Virginia, and got interested in trying to improve our situation here in Virginia. And that's why I ran for section manager. It's been a great ride. Enjoyed working with all these fine people here and others around the ARRL and the section, and look forward to more. And so now I guess it's my turn to shill at the bottom.
Yeah, and you also there in Virginia, Jack, you have a typical pattern of the same type of license classes that the other sections have too, where technician class licensees make up the majority of licensees in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But you also have a great distribution of general class hams and extra class hams. Mm-hmm. You've got a very healthy division there with a lot of amateur radio operators. All righty. Jack, anything else?
No, because I have a section that I get to babble at the end again, correct?
You do get a second chance to babble. All right. Our North Carolina section manager, Marv Hoffman, WA4NC, unfortunately is a little under the weather, and he's not going to join us tonight. Since I myself live in North Carolina and I'm a former North Carolina section manager, I'll just go through and say that Marv, if you're not already on his newsletter list, Marv sends out a written newsletter every 2 weeks as to things that are going on in the state of North Carolina. And like the other chart you've seen before on a state-by-state basis, we too in North Carolina have a very typical pattern here. Majority of licensees are technician class, but we have a very robust set of general licensees and extras. At last count, there are almost 22,000 federally licensed amateur radio operators in the Tar Heel State. So let's send our best wishes to Marv and hope he's feeling better for the holidays up ahead. Now, we have some other information tonight, and that is we want to share with all of you some things that are coming up of great importance to all ARRL members and hams in the 4 sections and at the division level. First one is those younger hams who are currently attending either a 2-year, 4-year higher education institution or graduate studies. The window is now open for applications for scholarships. I myself sat on the scholarship award committee last year for ARRL. We gave out, are you ready for this? $920,000 in scholarships to 139 recipients. We had 14 of those recipients here in the 4 states that make up the Roanoke division. And the window is open right now. On that screen, if you know a younger person, actually, it doesn't have to be young, it's not age. If you know somebody who's in a 2-year, 4-year graduate study program, and they are a licensed amateur radio operator, they do not have to be an Arrl member, they can apply, and there are scholarships ranging from $500 to the big one, $25,000. There's one scholarship, the Barry Goldwater Scholarship, named after the late U.S. Senator Barry Goldwater, K7 UGA, if I remember his call sign.
Yeah.
That is $25,000 per year for 4 years. That goes to an exceptional ham. The big thing here, not only is the deadline January 4th, and here we are at December 12th, notice at fourth bullet point down, tell candidates start their applications now, because they're going to have to make arrangements with their institution to obtain transcripts to submit with the application, and they're going to need recommendations. So follow the hyperlink down at the bottom, and let's see if we can get some well-deserving young, I should keep saying young, well-deserving students to get some award money from Arrl. Now, this has been on the back burner because of COVID, but the most prestigious award in the Roanoke Division is the Roanoke Division Service Award. This is not something new. This award has been around since 1968. And in that time period, 54 amateur radio operators in the 4 states have been recognized by their peers as making extraordinary strides on behalf of all the amateurs who live in our area. The COVID restrictions of the last couple of years really made solicitation and pulling this award together problematic. So the last one that was made was the one you see depicted here in 2019 that went to North Carolina Section Emergency Coordinator Tom Brown, N4TAB, in recognition of his efforts to bring the OXCOM training standards into operations for MCOM response in North Carolina. It's also nicknamed the Vic Clark Award after former Roanoke Division Director and later Arrl President Vic Clark, W4KFC, who so regrettably lost a battle to cancer while he was Arrl President, but was a ham's ham. So the award nominations will be coming up soon. And please think carefully throughout your section and all 4 sections in the division of a ham who has really gone above and beyond in making a difference for all of us. And maybe their impact transcends your own section and has regional and maybe even national impact. And there are a lot of them here. Every year I'm saddened by well-deserving individuals of whom we should really, really be proud to have living in our division who regrettably have not been nominated by some of their peers. So the award will be up on our division website, www.arrl-roanoke.com. You'll see that address again on your screen at the end of tonight's broadcast. And then the nomination period is open now until January 31st for the 2022 Roanoke Division Service Award. Okay, and I think this is the last one we have coming up. I got to look at my cheat sheet here. Yes, in terms of announcements, there's going to be a year-long contest coming up. Many of you were part of the Centennial contest, year-long contest in 2014, and then a lot of you got excited about POTA, Parks on the Air, in 2016. Well, we're going to look at and have a year-long contest in 2023 in honor of the 7th 1,000 officially appointed volunteers who work with ARL across the United States. Those of you who have gotten or received your January 2023 issue of QST, pages 77 and 78 describe the contest, and more rules and procedures will be coming out. So keep an eye on this. It will be exciting. And when it does, it will be done on a state-by-state basis. So much like the 2014 format of Centennial, there'll be 2 weeks throughout the year for North Carolina, 2 weeks throughout the year for West Virginia, 2 weeks throughout the year for South Carolina, and 2 weeks throughout the year for Virginia. But they will not be the same week. They will be, so they will mix it up. We will, as soon as we know the details, where and when, we'll share them all with you. All right. That is, let's see, here we go. All right. Where are we in the format here? We've gotten to the bottom of this, and we're about 40 minutes after the hour. Brad, I'm going to turn to you and see, have we had anybody come in with any questions that they'd like to ask of any of us?
We have had a couple of questions. Hang on one second. I starred some of them. One on Mark's point. How do we drive membership? It's a good, solid question. Another one, the slides that we used for showing the license classes and all that. Some people have asked for that after the program. I'm sure we can probably publish that somewhere, I would imagine. A lot of people liking the format, want to see it at a section level. So, a handful of those already coming in. And they like the prize.
Don't we all?
Everybody likes free stuff, right? And then, okay, yeah, we know this is we're going to have some fumbles, but a blast about an hour before. And I tried to do that a couple hours before, but it's not a good way to hit all the platforms at once.
For all those of you who are still sticking around with us, first of all, we're very grateful. We know it's the holiday season. Yeah, but it's the holiday season. It's a Monday night, and you could be sipping cocoa by the fireplace. Instead, you're in front of your computer looking at us. Part of me has to scratch my head and wonder why. But on the other hand, I hope you're finding value added in tonight's broadcast and meeting all those fine folks that you have elected to serve you on behalf of the largest support organization to advocate for amateur radio in our area. You've probably heard enough from me, and then why don't we take a little round robin? We see a question up here about PAC-Tour 4. Any of our other esteemed panelists would like to address that?
I'll be happy to, Bill.
Okay, go, Jim.
This regards the symbol rate limitation that we have from the FCC. And as far as I know, we're the only country that has this. We're limited to a symbol rate of 300. The league, as a matter of fact, my director, Dennis Botson, I believe in 2013, asked the question, why do we have a symbol rate? Or why are we restricted? And the board at that point actually passed a resolution to contact the FCC asking for the removal of the symbol rate. The FCC put a notice of inquiry out almost immediately, like within a week of the board meeting, and ended up getting a significant amount of opposition, which surprised everybody. But since that, this has come up a number of times. You might have noticed that whenever we have an emergency, that there will be a special temporary authorization from the FCC as requested by the ARRL to allow PAC-Tour 4 or to suspend the symbol rate restriction for a short period of time for the duration of the emergency. The league is still working on this. This was one of our highest priorities and was actually, I was looking forward to have something, but truthfully, for the length of time I've been on the board, I haven't seen the FCC really act on virtually any of our proposals. We're hoping to turn this around. We have enough number of things in the fire to try to get this moving, but I think one of the most important thing is the symbol rate situation. We are the only country. Why are we the ones in which our technology is limited? So that is a long answer to a short question, but believe me, it's on everybody's minds on the board.
I agree. Okay. Thank you, Brad. And thank you. I'm sorry, I forgot who the name of the person who asked that question. We're keeping on that, though. We hope relief will come. Brad, any other questions that have come up? Arrl should think about publishing some guidance on how clubs should approach the subject, keeping kids safe and adults out of trouble. Good point. And that for those of us who have had backgrounds in dealing particularly with organizations like Scouts and 4-H, we're used to that. And I think those of us at the, I know at the board level and at the section level, are very cognizant of the things. One thing these days that is different is, you may recall the 50 years ago when I was sitting for my license, it was common for prospective young hams to go over to the house of an Elmer and learn code and work out. And you don't hear that anymore, and you very seldom see that anymore. Online training has turned out to be a magnificent substitute for minimizing the chance for a wrong way youthful interaction. So, and in fact, Elmering has really moved into two dimensions. Not only is it more proper maybe not to meet with youth privately, but correspondingly, Elmers don't want to make the lengthy commitment they once did 50 years ago of meeting every Thursday, for example, at 3 o'clock to go through training. So on-demand training is really taking the place and has minimized many of the concerns about that. But we all times need to be cognizant of what we can do to make sure youth and our adult members too are safe. Other questions, Brad, that have come in?
Hey, Brad.
Oh, was that you, Mark?
Yeah, I saw a question on the list from Wayne Starnes. Brad, can I? It looked like it was directed to me. Can I take that one? It was about I think about 8:22, something like that.
Well, Brad's looking for that. Can we address Rich Davis's question?
Absolutely. What have we got there?
Yeah, Rich is saying, revitalize HOA restriction talks. Why should an emergency volunteer be restricted as to where they can live?
Let me answer that, Bill, if you might. At least some
Dan, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm an attorney in my other life, so I have some familiarity with all this. Homeowners association covenants and restrictions are matters of contract. When you buy a house in an area that's restricted, you are agreeing that you will not have lions in your backyard or snakes in your front yard or whatever the covenants and restrictions say you can't have. And with regard to hams, that often includes towers and antennas and things like that. That's a matter of contract. And this is a capitalist society. Contracts are supremely important and typically rule over everything else. You cannot contract to perform an illegal act, but amateur radio is not illegal. Restricting amateur radio is not illegal. So they come in and say, the homeowners association say you can't have a tower, you can't have an antenna. Why? How did that come about? Well, some few decades ago, housing development started. Contractors started building houses, paving streets, blocking off lots, and they wanted to have utilities. So the gas company, the electric company, the water companies came in and said, give us rights of way through your development. The rights of way are almost sacred to those utility companies, and we'll install the utilities for you without bothering the contractor about them at all. So with the cable companies. The cable companies came in and said, we will run cable into all of your houses, wire your houses for cable to a greater or lesser extent as they negotiate, in exchange for which we don't want people putting up TV antennas. Well, ham radio is not something that's understood by most of the population. It is often said that if you take 100 people at random off the street, you will not have one ham in that selection of 100 people. And that's true. We are such a small statistical part of the population that we really don't exist statistically. So the contractors get cable run into the houses get wired, the homeowners are happy with that, and all they have to do is agree not to go to what was then Radio Shack, buy an antenna and have somebody put it up. So we built into the covenants and conditions of the homeowners association a restriction against antennas. But the courts look at that and say that was in what is called the chain of title to your real estate. If you look at the deeds that go back to the creation of the subdivision, you will find that you can't have antennas, TV or otherwise. Now, somebody will say, well, what about the over-the-air broadcast reception rules? That's different. That's to allow you to have satellite dishes. In the old days, those things were big. Now they're small and nobody gets terribly excited about them. But that's a separate case. So the way it is now, we've got these restrictions against antennas. And when the league or you and your neighbor or whoever it is gets all excited about that and says, let's call our congressman, our senator, let's call the president and complain, the congressman, the senator, the president looks at the statistics and they say 99% of the population are completely happy about this. And there's this one vocal minority percent out there that says they want something different. And the contractors and the cable companies who have in our society today more money than any deity you would choose to invoke are against it. We're just not going to bother them. So there's the league. They're in Newington, and they do try. They're trying really hard to get something done about this. And they occasionally will find a member of Congress who's sympathetic to them. But it's a hard fight. It's a terribly hard fight. The argument that we're emergency responders is a strong argument. It's a good argument. But at the same time, you find that most of the emergency response really is with radios in your car, driving around during a flood or during a tornado, looking at damages. It's an uphill battle. And I personally don't expect to see much done in the near future, if ever, about it. The league is somewhat more positive than I am. But I've seen some god-awful things happen in courtrooms and in legislatures. So I'm a little pessimistic, I'm afraid.
Dan, I just want to add for Rich's benefit that discussions between Arrl and the U.S. Congress continues on this subject. You don't hear much for a reason, and it's what Dan pointed out, that for every amateur radio operator who lives in an HOA restricted neighborhood, there are 92 people who are not licensed hams. The ratio works out to 92 to 1. So, and HOA groups have very powerful trade associations, and they have, in the past, as soon as they smell or sniff any kind of relaxation to accommodate amateur radio, that those trade associations go immediately to the respective congressmen and say, we have 92 members who oppose this. I'm hoping, and Rich, I really do, from the bottom of my heart, I'm hoping that we may have some positive news in some future for you. But in the short term, as Dan said, it's an uphill battle. So I'm sorry to have that down note. We are now about 7 minutes a day. Let's see. Digital modes. I would like to see an increase in the support projects articles regarding digital modes in Arrl and the whole by the Roanoke division. Is that possible? Who'd like to take that? People are tired of hearing from me.
I can kind of take that a little bit.
Go ahead, Jack.
So, Greg, Kilo Whiskey 6 Golf Bravo, the originator of the WinLink Wednesday movement, has some very excellent training videos on WinLink and its related digital modes. Because remember, of course, WinLink is a system and the modes support the system. So he has some very good ones on that. And in some of them, he talks about how you use some of the other digital modes to help set up your sound card and all that. So like FT8 is a really good one. Once you get that one dialed in, then everything else will work very well. So there are already some out there. It's just a matter of getting those in one location. To get those in articles, I mean, there's a lot of articles out there published, but the best things I've seen are the videos that go with that. Like I said, from Greg and some others, Oscar Hotel 8 Sierra Tango November, I believe it is. Julian, the retired U.S. Marine that lives in Finland, he has some very excellent ones, and many others. So I would really recommend those, and perhaps we can, and I hate this word, curate some. That's kind of like the charcuterie board or snack. Was it Lunchables on a piece of wood?
Exactly.
But, perhaps we can get together a good list of those and get those out there. And of course, each one of them approaches them in a slightly different way that works for different people. So does that kind of answer your question?
We'll go on the assumption that it does.
Okay.
And it is. Digital is emerging. And don't forget, there's now every June a international digital contest sponsored by Arrl. In fact, I just saw a reference that the second annual contest will be coming up in June of 2023. So maybe for that last person who made that question, the answer may be, why not encourage somebody in your club to secure a presentation and put on some digital presentation, and then correspondingly have a digital workshop. All right. Mark, I think your question from Wayne Starnes may have just popped up.
Well, yeah, I think he had a couple, and I'll try to deal with that. And I think there was another question about people wanting to be radioactive that just came from, I think it was Kilo Bravo 8 Alpha Oscar Bravo. Not sure, but the questions are related. So let me take a shot at them. First of all, let me say hello to Wayne. I haven't seen him in a while. It's great that you're with us tonight. The thing about recruiting people to be in amateur radio is you kind of have to meet them where they are. There isn't a one size all solution for it. A lot of times you really need to sort of get to know the person a little bit, figure out what their interests are. I've told this story before, so Jim can ignore it. He's heard it. A guy that went to college with one of my daughters, they would all come by the house occasionally on the weekends to have a few beers and use the pool. And one of the students, Bob, he discovered that my shack was above the garage and there was a nice refrigerator full of beer. So he would come out and join us. And one night I was out here with Morgan, friend of mine, local ham, KB4GFJ. We were setting up to run moon bounce. And we had a sked with, I think his call sign was RA6AA. The guy must run about 5K to him. He's got an enormous 48 Yagi array that he uses. Looks like an old truck to turn. It's really something. So we're getting ready to make this moon bounce contact, and the guy shows up, and he was really interested in it. He was interested in WSJTX and sort of how we set the whole thing up. And I took the time to explain it to him. We had a few minutes before the contact started, so I showed him all the pieces, how they went together, and he asked a couple questions. I didn't really put a lot of pressure on him, and kind of forgot about it. And he graduated and moved up to Hickory, North Carolina. And I guess about 18 months after the moon bounce contact, I got a call one evening. My wife answers it, and she says, "It's for you. It's some ham wants to talk to you." So I grabbed the phone, and a voice on the other end says, "Hey, dude, this is KK4RZR." And I thought it was somebody in South Carolina. So I said, "Well, how can I help you? I'm the section manager." And Let me know what's going on. And he says, it's me, it's Bob. Remember, I'm the guy you showed moon bounce. He said, I got licensed a month ago. You just never know. But the key is, if you have an opportunity to talk about what you're doing or demonstrate what you're doing, and you can do it in a way that's of interest to that person, you can make a connection with them. And that's really the key, is showing them why this hobby is exciting to them. What is it that makes it exciting to them? And then once you make that initial contact, try to stay engaged with them. In my case, it was easy because Bob's girlfriend was a friend of my daughter. So it was about twice a month he was over with them. And since he knew the beer was in my shack, I saw him twice a month.
There was another question there also, and this is a nice segue to that. How do you get people interested in the league, join the ARRL? And I think one of the most powerful arguments that you can make in that direction is to remind people that except for the league, we wouldn't have amateur radio. It just wouldn't exist. After World War I, amateur radio was overseen by the Department of Commerce. After World War I, when it was suspended during the war, there was no action geared toward bringing amateur radio back into existence. Department of Commerce was not interested. Nobody else in the government was interested. It was the guys who formed the league. And I won't say gals because they were all guys. That's the way it was in those days. They started pressuring and putting information out there to commerce and to everybody else in the government. And ultimately, it was restored. And we had amateur radio from the end of World War I up until about World War II. What happened in World War II? Amateur radio was suspended. There were good reasons for wanting to do that, but also a lot of amateur radio equipment was taken by the government to use, I guess, for parts, or maybe some of it was usable in the war effort. And at the end of World War II, there was no amateur radio. There was no motivation to bring amateur radio back into existence in this country until the American Radio Relay League stepped up and started pressuring. So we talk about homeowners association legislation and things like that. The league can get governmental movement. They can get things to happen, maybe not for homeowners yet, but to get amateur radio back at the end of World War II, yes, it happened. And that's why the league has a lobbying effort going on, is to get permission to have a better baud rate, to have sideband, to suspend CW as a license requirement, to impose amateur radio incentive licensing. Look at the number of extra class hams we have now because of incentive licensing. The ARRL is amateur radio. There are a lot of naysayers out there, but when push comes to shove, they have to admit that historically, from the beginning of the 20th century until now, the 22nd century, the ARRL has been our representative, has fought for us, and has succeeded. That's why I'm a member of it. I'm a life member, bought in cheap years and years ago, actually. But that's why I support it. I may moan and complain about various things, but I still wear the pin. And I encourage other people to do that too.
I'd like to add something to that, Dan. After World War I, it wasn't just that the league lobbied. It was actually much more severe than that. The Secretary of the Navy, Josephus Daniels, decided that the strategic value of wireless telegraphy was so important that wireless telegraphy and any technology derived from it should be the sole property of the United States Navy. And Congress was in the process of making that a reality. And the league actually went to Congress. It wasn't just a matter of getting a bunch of congressmen on their side. They actually had to pick a fight with the U.S. Navy. And the good news for us is they won, or we would not be having this discussion this evening. The league doesn't, not everything they do is well thought out. Like the rest of us, they're prone to error. But the point is, they represent us. At the end of the day, they are our voice in Washington, and it's hard to put a value on that. People were talking earlier about amateurs and that we're a small percentage of the population. Well, I'll tell you just how small we are. In the United States, approximately 1 out of every 500 Americans holds an amateur radio license. Interestingly, in South Carolina, it's a little worse than that. It's about 1 out of every 529 people. That's a pretty small number. And the fact that the league has been able to get things done, when you stop and think about it, is pretty amazing, because we are not a large constituency, but they do plug away at it. And when it's important, when things really need to get done, they're the folks that are going to be there for us. Nobody else is going to do it. And that's something that we all just have to come to terms with. Do they do everything we want, when we want it, the way we want it right now? Not always, but when it's important, they'll make the effort. And that's something that no other organization does for us. I'm proud to be a member. Unlike Dan, I didn't get in early enough when life membership was a real bargain. So I just pay year by year. But I'm a member. My wife's a ham. She's a member. They are the folks that do the things that individually we cannot do. And particularly in terms of advocacy and relations with government, if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be here. We would not be having this discussion. So I'm glad that they're here, and I support them, and I hope others will as well.
And look at what we're doing right now. We've got a member of the board of directors and a vice director listening to us right now, listening to you who's watching this and putting your comments up, and they listen to you all the time. Your section managers listen to you. I don't know of any other organization that communicates with their members as well as this league does.
Thank you on that, Dan. And a final note for Wayne, you asked, how do you get more non-ARL member hams engaged? My big point is, and this I'll just hammer it home, we'll do it with the money thing. To be a member of the league is 13 cents a day. If you forego 1 cup of fast food or convenience store coffee a week, you can pay for your membership. If you're like my daughter-in-law and you forego 1 month's worth of a latte at Starbucks, you pay for your membership for ARL. So
you're asking a lot there.
Yeah. All right, a couple of things. Brad, do you think it's time to have our drawing of who are our 5 winners tonight? Let's see who they are. Can you run the random generator? Notice that. All right, Chip Mack. Chip, do we have a call sign for Chip? Chip, could you put up your call sign in the chat feature? We want to make sure that the winners tonight are not only licensed hams, but they themselves are current and active ARL members. There we go. WB4ZVR. WB4ZVR. Okay. Ready for the random drawing for winner number 2 out of 5 tonight for an ARL 100th anniversary handbook. Can you turn the generator, Brad, on? Here we go. Get ready for number 2. Mark Bronstein. Mark, congratulations. Mark, in the chat feature, could you please type in your call sign? Oh, Chip put in, Chip, I'm sorry. We made it clear at the top that you must be a current ARL member to be a winner. I'm sorry, we cannot give the handbook to you. David, I agree that we're working, there's some other reasons why PayPal is not being used currently. Since you are here in Wilmington, I'll make sure that I get to you as to the reason why. All right, good. We got Mark. All right. Let's see. Random generator, Brad, for winner. This will be now winner number 2 of 100 handbook. Chris Weiss. Chris, in the chat box, please type in your call sign. Chris, are you there? Brad, are you seeing Chris online?
Bill, I see his call sign. It's
Okay.
There it is. Yeah.
Yep.
N4SYF.
All right, good. All right. Brad, congratulations, Chris. Brad, let's do number 3 on the random generator. The handbook is going to look beautiful in your shack, or put it on your book. All right. William Horn. Congratulations. Type in, if you would please, in the chat box your call sign. Does anybody know Mr. Horn's call sign? There we go. W4EWH. Is that right? E? Yeah. W4EWH. All right. 2 more. Thank you very much for being a life member. We're grateful for that.
Yep.
This is exciting. I like the random generator. Steve Courts. Come on down. You're our winner on the Roanoke Division Town Hall. All right, Steve, we need your call sign, please. Can you put it in the chat box? K8JQ. All right. Thank you. All right. And the last potential winner tonight in the random generator. We want to thank everybody while we're waiting for this for who joined us tonight on the inaugural Roanoke Division Town Hall, and Brian Falvey. Brian, thank you so much. Type in your call sign, please, Brian, so we know it. Brian, you there with your call sign? Brian, you still there? I don't want to say going once, going twice. There we go. N1BJF, life member. Very good. All right. We want to thank tonight's winners: Mark Bronstein, WA4KFZ, Chris Weiss, N4SYF, William Horn, W4EWH, Steve Courts, KAJQ, and Brian Falvey, N1BJF. Let's give them some applause. Excellent. Excellent. All right, we're going to wrap this up. We've been on now for a little over an hour. Just want to give you some information of things coming up. What we have here is these are the known Hamfests so far registered for 2023. We have the latest one there today. We just put up on March 18th, the Charleston, West Virginia Hamfest. These are all ARL sanctioned Hamfests. April 8th is will be the North Carolina State Convention, Mars Fest in Raleigh. Notice here in the middle, you can go and apply. In fact, Jim, our division director, and I and the section managers plan out our calendars a year in advance. So it's never too early for you to apply on your Hamfest. So go ahead. There's the hyperlink to it. Now, a note before we sign off for the night. Mark, thank you very much for your kind comments there about the form. For clubs, notice where the pointing finger is. This is very, very key for all the clubs that have had a change in officers in the last year. Please go to the hyperlink at the bottom, www.arl.org/club update. This is the official source that league officials and league headquarters goes to when they need to get in touch with the club. We do not go to the club's Facebook page. We do not go to the club's website or web page. Where they go is the official listing inside the ARL website. And I will tell you, as a league official, it is sometimes very frustrating to try and track down a club officer. And if we do find the club officer, many times that individual has not held that position for many years. So it's very key. It helps too, particularly for referrals. If your club is accepting new members, and most clubs I know are, and they call the league saying, I want to get involved with a local club, the person who answers at the league is going to rely on the information that your club puts on the club update. So make sure, please, that is as up to date as it could be. So our last slide tonight before we sign off is I have one more. Those clubs
Wait, there's more.
Wait, there's more because the hits are coming. For those clubs that haven't done this yet, the new club commission format is really taking off like gangbusters. And that is, if you are an ARRL affiliated club, for every new member who joins, the club earns a commission of $15. And for every ARRL member who renews through the club, they make $5. And what's the definition of a new member? A new member is somebody who has not been, either never joined the league before at all, or has not been a member for 3 or more years. And don't worry if you think that if you sign up through this format, that it's going to cut your expiration date on being a member short. If you do it through the club and you do it long before your expiration date, this will your payment will be added to your existing expiration date. So you don't lose any time by helping out your club with this form. And for those who are wondering how the club gets the money back, it either comes in a check from the league to the club treasurer, or the club treasurer can make arrangements for the money to be transferred by direct deposit from league headquarters in Connecticut directly to the club's bank account. It is a win-win situation. So remember, it only costs 13 cents a day to be a member of the league. Why not do it through your club and have your club share in the largesse of the league? Now, the final slide of the night. I want to thank Jim, Mark, Dan, Jack, and in absentia tonight, hoping he feels better, North Carolina Section Manager Marv Hoffman, for being with us tonight on this, the first ever Roanoke Division Town Hall. We hope you enjoyed it tonight. And please share your comments about the town hall, what we've done tonight, what we did good that you'd like to see more of, things that we didn't cover tonight, things that you would like to see us improve upon. If you like this format, how often would you like us to do it? Is an effective means of communications. So here are the addresses, email addresses for all of us here. I hope you agree it's been a good evening. Once again, we are very, very grateful that you took time out from this busy holiday season to join us. All of us on this town hall tonight wish you a very Merry Christmas, the happiest of holidays, and a healthy and prosperous year ahead in 2023. Let's go around the horn once for some final goodbyes from all of our folks tonight. Let's start with Jack, KE4LWT, Virginia Section Manager. Jack, some final words?
Yes. Well, I just wanted to I wanted to mention a few people. Mike, Whiskey Alpha 8, Alpha Hotel Zulu, and Ed, Kilo Whiskey 4 Golf Foxtrot. Ed's working on the Get on the Air for Life program to try to get our members to become members when they get licensed and stay members all the way through the end. And Mike is doing the same thing at the club section, at the club level. And they've both been invited to participate in the ARRL Club Development webinars. So really, that was kind of the big one. And, as always, and others have mentioned it, we always have vacancies. So if you think you need or you have something to contribute to us, please get hold of us, because I'm sure we can find some way to get with you. And thank you for being here again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack, too. Merry Christmas to you and your family and everybody in the Virginia section. Dan, K8WV, final thoughts from you as the West Virginia section manager.
Merry/happy everything, folks.
Thank you, Dan, and to you, too. Mark, N4UFP in the Palmetto State. What kind of South Carolina goodbyes do you have this evening?
Well, first of all, real quick, I want to just mention a bunch of people I saw come across on the comment line and just say hello to them. Already talked briefly to Wayne Starnes, some other South Carolina folks, Pete Emmel, George Mudd, Dirk Tannis, who lives literally down the road from me, about half a mile away, Steve Nixon, Philip Chandler, John Gendron, and probably some other folks that I didn't see as the screen was rolling past me. Pleasure to have all of you with us, and look forward to doing this again. And happy holidays to everyone, and look forward to seeing everybody in the new year. And that's all I got from the Palmetto State, Bill.
Okay, Mark, thank you. Best to you and your family for the holidays up ahead. And last but not least, in any manner or form, our division director, Dr. Jim, N2ZZ.
Bill, I can't even begin to say how good this went. You've been a fantastic MC. I know this is something you're really comfortable with, and you have done so well tonight. I see all these comments coming across, and I couldn't have expected to be better. And I also want to thank Brad for being the person who gave us the platform to make this happen. And of course, the section managers for all they do. And just one last thing, someone had put up a comment saying, how do you get people that are inactive interested in amateur radio again? I hope it's going to be this year with the Year of the Volunteer. It's going to be a low pressure thing through the whole year to be able to work states, be able to work field appointees, get point values. This is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm really hoping that we're going to get a lot of people back into amateur radio because of this. So Bill, again, thank you very much. It was stellar, and I'll turn it back to you for a final.
Okay, well, last but not least, we need to bring one more person on camera, and that's the producer of this event tonight, Brad Humphreys, AE4VJ. Brad, come on. I think we owe you a big round. There he is in the corner. And for those of you who don't know, Brad and Mark Tarpley, the South Carolina section manager, have been using this type of format now for several years, and Brad has pulled this together. And Brad and I have been working, in fact, he's been working with all of us for the past month for this inaugural debut. And Brad, I think we have seen from the comments tonight, we've got a winner. And keep yourself ready, because it looks like we may be doing this thing quarterly. Oh,
You're muted.
Producer failure.
Better that than a wardrobe failure. All right. He's speechless, which is incredible for him.
Hey,
all right.
Bill?
Yes.
I got to add one thing. I just saw a comment from Gary Ackerman. Show more cats. Yes, for those of you who've been paying attention, there's been a cat wandering in and out of the field of view here. 15 years ago, a kitten wandered into my garage and is still here. She lives in my ham radio shack, and that is Munchkin. She's 15 now, and she is a shack cat. If the weather's real nice, she might scratch the back door of the garage and get let out for a while, but this is where she lives, and I keep waiting. I figure I'm going to come in here someday, and she'll have the equipment turned on, and she'll be making an FT8 contact with somebody. I don't know, but it's always a possibility. Anyway,
to which we would say, you've got to be kidding.
Indeed, we might. That's all. We couldn't do this without the whole group here, and of course, thanks to Brad, the guy behind the scenes who pulls all the strings and makes it all happen. And with that,
Okay.
We're done.
So the final word is there'll be a Roanoke Division newsletter be coming out before the end of the year. And the 6 of us will meet and we'll put some dates together to have another town hall. We'll try and make this a regular thing to the benefit of all the members in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia. So from all of us, your elected officials in the ARL Roanoke Division, a great big 73, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and Happy Holidays. Take care, everybody.